Welcome to Skinny Black's Lounge. My name is Rob, aka Skinny Black, and to my right,
Tubbs. Yes.
yeah, and to his right,
Cameo, aka Mr. Jim's in the Gym.
and to his right,
JT, here to side.
and joining us from the corner of the room behind Cameo is
Lebo.
Lebo. So as you see, we do have a special guest in the room, Cameo Williams, aka Mr. Jim's in the Gym, aka Back in Black, Clap Back, aka Can't Go Left because he can't get right. So he also runs a piece on Facebook, Love Chronicles. Cam, let me give yourself 60 to 90 seconds to tell us about yourself before we get into it.
About myself and Love Chronicles, or just about Cameo?
Oh, just about however you want to do it, baby.
You know what? I am a father, 3 beautiful kids. Let me break down this math for y'all.
Hold on, put the mic up so we can get that clear.
Break down this math for y'all.
Okay.
31-year-old,
Okay.
15-year-old, 1-year-old. So this right here is my chicken and waffles.
Hey, we know content.
It don't seem like it go together.
It don't seem like it's together, but it's gonna work, man.
Ain't got to explain it here.
You know,
We are simpatico.
So from a personal experience, as well as running Love Chronicles, also being a coach, just a lot of different levels of relationship and relationship building and relationship dynamics that I've been a part of, led and followed, committed to and decommitted to. So it's a lot of layers I can speak on about it. So that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, I saw that that wordplay you used about decommit. I caught that. I caught that. All right, cool. So let's get into it. So the first topic of tonight, we want to discuss how do we deal with societal expectations and stereotypes as Black men? How do they impact us? How do they impact you, Jim?
It impacts me from a standpoint of trying to manage my silence. Obviously, I got some dope men in this room, but for the most part, you're silent. As we just, prior to coming on, we talked about a brother going 4.5, 5 years of not even saying these are not my kids. And so it's a lot of suffering from just being candid. And we're taught to grind, which means to wear down. So I'm wearing down in silence. And hopefully, if you're lucky enough to have then you can kind of get through it. But if not, it's a lot of pain. It's a lot of walking alone. That I'm gonna say we, as men and society, have put on ourselves, but now we condition ourselves to kind of go along with it. Luckily, avenues and platforms like this is changing, that narrative, but that's how we want to deal with it versus how we deal with it. It's 2 different things.
Yeah, and I'm gonna add a layer of question to that. Okay, how does it impact our self-image? How does it impact our confidence? How does it impact our emotional well-being? Right.
Oh, man. Let's do all that extras on it. I mean, we can speak to the perceptions of what Black manhood is, and then speak to how the layers of slavery, white supremacy have dictated what Black manhood is. And then think about the effects of that level of oppression over time, beginning from the impact of slavery and Jim Crow and these things, and the degradation of Black manhood from the moment we stepped foot into this country. So we've been fighting that perception, that image that was created to purposely dehumanize us. You go all the way back to the 60s and the I Am a Man posters and the civil rights movement and things like that. Who else had to do something like that in history, in any space, just to declare what manhood is. And then we get to this space now, we have all of these other people, other than black men, chiming in on what black manhood is, based on their definitions, sans penis.
Right.
And so,
Hey, we're in today's society, not even that.
hey, and so it's all we're doing is putting out fires and combating negative stereotypes before we can even establish a paradigm. You know, forget gender roles and things like that. I mean, the reticent, emotionless black man who, because he's penalized for exhibiting emotion in public spaces, and then the burying of all that over the years, and the men that we've had in our lives, some of which embodied that, all of that pain, and others who managed to overcome it and maneuver it, and how we gravitated towards those men in our lives and how they expressed it. You know, we speak to it all the time. My grandfather never, ever said, "I love you," but I knew it from the moment I knew what he was. So it was embodied in his actions, in his voice, in the way he claimed me, you know, my son. So we have that, and then we're trying to balance that with all of that outside noise. I mean, how do we get to a point where we define it for ourselves without all the messy gender, him, shim, whatnot? No offense, you know what I'm saying? However you define yourself, but there still has to be an establishment of the principalities of what black manhood is, and how we exist, and how we show up for each other, and how we show up for our families.
Okay.
It makes me think of two things. Before we talk about society, I was blessed to be born into a really exceptional family in terms of men and women working with each other, supporting each other. We had a lot of traditional values and roles. And if you spend any time around them, they a trip.
Talk about them traditional.
You know, but so when I was growing up, the women I saw appreciated the men in my family. The men worked hard, the women worked hard, everybody looked out for each other, but you were truly appreciated. What I wasn't prepared for was going out into the world and working hard and not being appreciated. Right. Going into relationships where the expectation was, yeah, you're supposed to do that, but everything I do is great. I remember one conversation I had with my ex-wife, and don't get it twisted, you know, it's my homegirl, but she was telling me how she washed clothes. And my response was, well, did you walk down to the river and wash them on the rocks? Or did you put that shit in that Maytag and go sit on the couch and watch TV? Because my grandmother washed clothes and hung on a line in the backyard. No, she washed clothes. Yeah. No, the machine washes clothes now, right? So that's what I meant. Like, it had to be, oh, I did this, I did that. Like, no, you didn't cook, you ordered it, and somebody brought it here.
Right. Okay, but even if she cooked it, now what?
No, what I'm saying is you maximize what you do.
Yes.
And you minimize what another person does. And the second thing it made me think of, societal, is the default position is the woman's way is correct.
Yeah.
So he talked about emotions. We talked about emoting. I said, I'm not good at that, right?
You said you was midget-like.
I'm midget-like in my emoting skills, right? Think about all the great short people of all time. I'm right there with them. You know, Gary Coleman, Papa Smurf. You know, I don't even know who that is.
You know what I'm saying? That's
you know what I'm saying?
Man.
Tattoo. That's why you say tattoo, dog. That's what I know him by. They want to know. He got tattoos, government name on the lip. Anyway, why is the default position
is that the way you emote and lose emotional control is somehow emotionally intelligent. It doesn't appear intelligent to me.
Or articulate.
When you going off and going crazy. To my eyes, that's a lack of emotional intelligence. Because you can't deal with your own feelings.
But I think it's just emotionally accepted. Not correct. It's just emotionally accepted because the woman did it.
Right. So that's my point. I'm not judging it.
Right.
I'm saying, why am I being judged? And what made this the standard? So it ties back into what you were saying. We don't even get to define ourselves. So now I have to go by a book that I didn't have any participation in writing. None of the rules, none of the paragraphs. I didn't even get the forward. You know, that's like, can I get in the liner notes or something? Shout out to JT. So the societal pressure is, you want to define me, but you haven't taken the time to even get to know me or understand me, right? So, in other cultures, there are no words for certain things because they didn't have a concept of it. And I think black man is one of them in this culture.
Ooh. As we always do about this time, suck shit.
Oh man, I was thinking.
Uh-oh.
This one, it's for you, man.
Thank you, brother.
Because I finally came with it. There is no substitute for chicken and waffles. See, we in LA, it's home Roscoe's, House of Chicken and Waffles. And what you understand once you've had chicken and waffles, there's no substitute for it. It don't seem like it's gonna make sense or be good, but once you have it, it all makes sense.
100%.
Give you a life example. Remember when you first heard that Bobby Brown and Whitney Houston was getting married? You was like, this ain't gonna work. Then you saw them on TV together, you was like, for each other, right? Because they remind you, your uncle, your auntie, that was both alcoholics that hung out, right? So, it might not make sense to you, but it'll work. What am I talking about? Women always question what men want because it don't make sense in their head, right? I just want some peace. Well, that just don't make sense. If we don't talk about it, how's this gonna work? This silence will work. That's my chicken and waffle. If you just let me do it, I'm gonna show you how this works. You know? You know what? I just want you to be cooperative. Well, that's my chicken and waffles. But you want to substitute it with your degree. You want to substitute it with your job. You cooperative over at the post office with your supervisor. Why the hell you can't get along with me in the apartment? See, now, everybody like chicken and biscuits, that's KFC. But I didn't want KFC when I went to Roscoe's. You chicken and waffle substitute niggas? You want some sucker shit.
Good job.
Good.
Good job. Good job.
That was some heavy stuff. And in terms of the question, one of the things I always tell Rob is our society has impacted me in a way that I want to feel the full human experience. There we go. I just want to know as a black man why I can't feel the full human experience and it'd be okay. I should be able to express it. I should be able to live it because I see every other part of society, every other culture gets to do that. Now, like I don't see no white men being called sassy. I don't see no Chinese men being called zesty simply because I want to express, my disappointment in something she's doing, my disappointment in having some expectations and boundaries when it comes to relationships. So expressing that, all of a sudden, now I'm zesty and sassy because we've been quiet for a long time. And now that we got these mics and podcasts and social media, and now we get to hear these black men's voice for the first time consistently. And now the more we have it, there's this big paradigm shift of, now that I hear y'all, I don't even know how to deal with what I'm hearing from you guys. So now I'm lashing out. And that's what we're getting now, and that's what society has pressed upon us. And to a degree, we acclimated to, right? We used to. And now we're getting out of that, or attempting to get out of that.
We get to the articulation of emotion without color. And so because we are articulating what we're feeling and it lacks the color that they're used to as they express themselves, intra-feminine connectivity and expression. So I'm telling you, I am angry. That angers me. I don't need to display any outward emotional anger. I don't need to be furious. You don't need to see fire in my eyes. This is me emoting and telling you, please don't do that. That makes me furious. I don't need to be fury. I don't need to embody whatever it is that I'm expressing. I'd rather be in this place, because if I got to the point where I had to express whatever it is, actually act it out, like Idris Elba, or it would be bad.
Yes.
It would be bad. I don't like that place. I don't like that level of instability, because there's no rules in that space. There's no parameters for that. I could go when I was younger and play football and started at 8 years old in the Pop Warner and enjoyed the contact and the physical, I mean, for lack of a better word, violence of it, because it was an outlet with parameters. I could be as angry as I wanted to be for 8 seconds. And then here's what the crazy part is, when that would bleed over and people would be like, man, what are you doing, man? That's out of control. You don't do that. Man, you just asked me to throw myself as hard as I can into this dude who's much larger than me, and I do it well. You like it. You reward me when I do it. And because I got some spillover, now you mad. It's like when Mike bit off Evander Holyfield's ear, right?
Right.
And I was like, and everybody's like, oh, that's crazy. I'm like, how? He's tasked with beating a man savagely who's done nothing to him personally. And you wonder why it spilled and bled over? Like, why is that shocking? That space of emotion is not safe unless it's some really defined parameters. And where does that exist other than in athletics?
Right. And we've talked about this before, that as when how we regulate and relate to one another, we know at all times there's a low level of violence that could happen and pop off at any moment, right? We could be at the liquor store, we could be at the movies, we could be in the, at Ralph's.
Stepping on your shoe.
And if you step on somebody's shoe, that could be the shit where this dude done held in some shit, and he may be dealing with some stuff we don't know anything about. Now he ready to go 0 to 100. But he started at 80 with the step on the shoe. Like, man, I've been getting disrespected all day, all week. And the least you could do is give me my shoes. You know what I'm saying? Give me my shoe space.
Right.
And so because of that, we know, bump into a dude, hey, my bad, brother. Cool, have a good day. Bump into a dude at the bar, hey, my bad, brother. I got your next one. It's cool. It's not that there's some sassiness or acquiescing going on. What we understand is that, we respect each other enough to be like, it's cool. This is not that situation. I'm not trying to go there with you, but I understand this might be a way or a reason for you to pop off. And I recognize that, and I recognize you and your humanity. Jay, I see you bubbling.
Man.
And it's not being a bitch. Thank you, DL.
Yeah, right.
Could you imagine going to Mexico and questioning why everybody's speaking Spanish?
Wow, that's a great analogy.
That's what they do to us.
I see where you're going.
We want you to express yourself. But I don't like how you express yourself. You need to be more in touch with your emotions, but not like that.
Right.
You need to do this, talk, walk, do everything the way we prescribe that you need to do it. Right? So am I just like some kind of animated object for your entertainment?
Here to amuse you.
You know, I'm just saying, like, I want you to talk, but here are your lines.
Ooh.
So I'm not a person.
Here's your
I'm an
script.
actor,
Ooh.
They give you a
right?
script.
So you want me to
Very
act.
net.
You want me to act for your pleasure, for your enjoyment. And here's the problem. Brothers have been acting for a long time.
Yeah.
And a lot of brothers are tired,
Yeah.
right? And so when you hear how we interact, here's what's crazy. We talking to each other. It's nothing but men in this room.
Mhm.
But our conversation can be deemed offensive.
Mm.
But if it was 4 or 5 women sitting around, and I've heard the niggas ain't shit conversation my whole life, I'm not offended by it.
By no means, because I know I'm not one of them.
Yeah, so it's like, why are you so upset that if you say we need to be more expressive, or we need therapy, or we need this, well, maybe my therapy looks like this. You know, maybe my therapy looks like 3 sets of 10, a curl, right? And go hit a heavy bag.
Right.
But that stops me from being that dude that you step on his shoe and it's time for Armageddon.
Right.
But you want to tell me how to go to therapy.
Right. And be in therapy.
And be in therapy.
So Cam, I'm gonna shoot this one to you because it's something similar to what we always talk about.
Okay.
So given what we've already laid out, you know, how is it that we self-sabotage and hide our emotions in order to keep the peace?
How do we do? Like, how is it exhibited? How is it executed? Is that what you're saying?
Okay, I'm gonna let everybody into a conversation we've had, so it makes sense.
Okay.
So we've had conversations about this term that's new to me. I probably new to all of us when we talk about this emotional labor that men carry in relationships. We talk about that, and oftentimes we've talked about this. Cam and I have talked about this specifically in the past. You know, this situation, there could be some situation out there where, you know, you cheat to keep your situation good.
Got you.
So,
Got you.
and we can unpack that.
Look, as I like to say,
So
sometimes people cheat to stay,
right,
right? Because they're trying to manage, right, what it is they're feeling, and they don't feel as though they can do it within the confines of their relationship because it's not allowed.
not allowed. Wow.
One of the things that B and I always talk about is the odd ladies, don't get mad, hey, it's a male space. But I think that a lot of times as men, we can get what we want from our women before they're our women. Let's say that one more time. We can get what we want from our women before they're actually our women.
Yep.
Right? Then somehow, so they know how to give us the peace. They know how to give us
All pieces.
the other piece.
Two
You ain't even got to ask, right? They can serve you. You don't have to ask, right? They can be calm and cooperative. They know how to deal with a room full of men that are attractive and are attracted to them. They know how to move in those spaces. And after there's a commitment, though, something changes, right? No longer do I need your emotion anymore. So we have to do something, because the fact that she doesn't need it doesn't change the fact that I need it. Right? So unless I'm going to leave, right, which 18% of men leave, but that's just 18%, right? We actually value the relationships. We actually value our women. So we're trying to find a way to stay. Are there assholes and hustlers and dogs? Absolutely. But a lot of men are trying to figure out a way to stay. And I think that's the emotional labor of trying to figure out where do I kind of jump off this hamster wheel? Like, how long do I kind of stay on here and keep going? And that's a challenge, man. It is.
Go ahead, Rand. I see you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a lot going there. I'm trying
It is.
to process that because I've seen it happen so many times where to keep your balance, your equilibrium, Guys will dwell in this space over here because it brings them. What does it bring them? Peace. You know what I'm saying?
Peace.
So that they can come home and deal with whatever it is they have to deal with, because they do this cost benefit analysis of what it is. Like it's never a zero sum game. We like to think of things in a zero sum aspect. It's not that you don't love your woman, but there are some definitive things that take you to a space that have you contemplating escaping. But that's not an option given the obligations that you have. So you say, how do I manage this? And this is not an endorsement of it. I'm just telling you how it is.
Right.
So that you're not sitting in the car trying to prepare yourself to enter your home. You're not.
I think we need to pause for that. Just say that. I think there needs to be a pause. The way we pause at that garage before we go in. That's deep.
Yeah, that's where
That's
what happy hour comes in, right?
Right.
Happy hour is 5 o'clock, 5 to 7, right? You know what? I'm gonna hit this happy hour before I go home, right? Or to our points, what we're saying, like it's not that we're condoning. It's not that just like a comedian talk about OJ, like, yo, I'm not saying that was cool, but I understand, right?
Right.
I'm not saying it's cool that brothers have these ill-equipped with the tools to emotionally manage in our relationships we haven't seen throughout our lives, and then we do see, and we haven't been able to pull back the curtain and had the language to ask the questions like, how is that working for you? How is your relationship, your parents' relationship, which you got a chance to see throughout your life? And that's, we talk about your origin story. Like, at what point in time do you get a chance to ask them, how are you making this shit work? Like, I've had all of my aunts have been married forever, right? And my uncles, and one uncle's been married a couple times, but one was married forever. And you know what I never did, leading up to being married and getting into a relationship, I never asked them, like, yo, what is the secret sauce? What's the Da Vinci Code of you staying together, given your dynamics? Because I can see your dynamics on the outside. I got one really outspoken auntie, right? And her husband, my uncle, I love him, rest his soul. She told me, she was like, everybody think that I'm this and I talk, and I am. Like, she admitted it. She like, but when Stanley said that's enough, that was enough. And so I could imagine, just from her telling me that, I was like, oh, now I got a different view and thought about what's happening behind closed doors. Yeah. It's a different dynamic.
Yeah.
Right? So,
and it's their dynamic.
And it's their dynamic.
It's their dynamic. They've learned to create an understanding of what their level of interaction is, and how they communicate with each other and how they do it. Like, it is far more complicated to step out and do that escapism with another woman and create more issues for yourself. It is.
Hold up. Well, I want to go before we get too deep. I gotta go here.
Time out on play.
Wait. I know. Before we go, I just did 30. I just did 30.
Go ahead.
Before we go, can you talk about the dynamics of the relationship? Yeah. Right. Let me go here, right, real quick. The question that, as I'm listening to you, and I'm listening to me, is we'll just go the last 30 years. How have the relationships even lasted a decent amount of time without a key variable of the equation, which is the male balance and emotion? Like, really, like, Paul, like, we don't even have that. Like, this is a new space for us as men, that we're overtly sharing and emoting, right, and communicating at this level, right, at this level. So what have these relationships been where we haven't even had that piece?
Big shout out to the crew. Big shout out to Dio behind the doors. Big shout out to the Gathering Spot LA, where we are. Big shout out to Tally and Twine. Love the timepieces. Like, share, subscribe. If there's something that touch you, touch back in the comments, and we'll address it. So with that being said, SBL Skinny Blacks Lounge out. Peace.
stay.